Think of the ultimate sci-fi thought experiment. An evil scientist places your brain in a nutrient-filled vat and hooks your nerve endings to a supercomputer. The computer feeds you precise electrical impulses. When you decide to open the fridge, you perceive the door opening. You feel the sharp, creamy taste of aged cheese. You experience the icy sting of cold cola. You believe you are walking around, but physically, you haven't moved an inch. In 1981, philosopher Hilary Putnam offered a rebuttal to this nightmare. He argued that a computer injecting artificial electrical signals into a disembodied brain would produce meaningless gibberish. Since the brain's internal signal for a tree wouldn't connect to a physical tree in the outside world, it could never truly understand reality. Putnam's argument relies on a specific assumption, that a brain inside a healthy, walking human body gets to access reality directly. But the physical setup of your own skull suggests a different story. Verifying the nature of our reality depends on the strict biological rules of data processing, a field where neuroscience has uncovered a surprising sequence of events. We naturally assume that seeing a sunset feels different from hearing a dog bark because they rely on distinct physical pathways. Light waves enter the eyes, sound waves enter the ears, and they carry those unique properties straight up into the mind. In the early 19th century, the famous physiologist Johannes Müller formalized this into the doctrine of specific nerve energies. He proposed that the optic nerve carries unique visual energy, while the auditory nerve carries a distinct sound energy. Müller pointed to a simple physical test. If you take a hard punch to the eye, you feel the impact, but you also see flashes of light. He argued the kinetic force of the punch accidentally triggered the eye's special reservoir of visual energy. This idea of specific sensory energies was eventually dismantled by Müller's own student, Hermann von Helmholtz. Helmholtz and the researchers who followed him discovered that physical energy from the outside world stops at your sensory organs. Light waves do not travel down the optic nerve. Sound waves do not travel from the inner ear into the brain. There is no such thing as visual or auditory energy moving through your body. The physical identity of the outside world vanishes the moment it touches a sensory receptor. Every single nerve in your body translates incoming information into the exact same physical currency, electrical spikes. Watch how these pathways operate. Looking at a towering oak tree converts into a series of electrical pulses. Stubbing your toe converts into electrical pulses. If you isolate those two signals, they are physically identical, just fluctuations in firing rates. At the end of those pathways sits a single neuron, floating inside the dark, fluid-filled vat of your skull. This neuron lives in blissful ignorance. It is bombarded by millions of these indistinguishable electrical spikes every single second, and it is blind to where they originated. There are no labels attached to these spikes telling the brain what they represent. The pulse itself doesn't know if it's supposed to be a color, a sound, or a sharp pain. There is no biological border patrol greeting incoming spikes with a sign telling them how to behave. Electrical pulses don't magically turn into visual information just because they arrive at the back of the brain. They remain raw, anonymous data. Out of this massive storm of unlabeled data, the brain is forced to invent an interpretation. It has to decipher an anonymous code written in electrical cuneiform. This is where Putnam's reassurance falls apart. Your healthy, waking brain is functionally identical to the sci-fi brain in a vat. It is trapped in a dark container, receiving meaningless electrical gibberish, and it uses that raw data to build an entire world from scratch. You do not experience the outside world directly. You never have. What you are experiencing right now is the simulacrum, a real-time reconstruction of your environment generated by an algorithm running inside your head. We can find evidence for this reconstruction by looking for cracks in the wallpaper of our perception. Look at this image by psychologist Akiyoshi Kitaoka. When your brain receives ambiguous sensory data from these patterns, its algorithm gets confused. It generates the sensation of motion. The image is static, but you perceive rotating circles because your brain incorrectly builds a moving environment. The intuitive feeling that we see reality exactly as it exists out there is a biological fallacy. We are locked inside the simulation. This physiological isolation is the very thing that allows us to navigate the world. The simulated reality we live in filters out bodily delays and raw electrical noise to give us a seamless world. It provides a view optimized to keep us alive.